Someone asked me the other day if Kundalini was yet another pasta dish from Italy, like linguini and so on. Kundalini. Kundalini, the definition of it in Sanskrit is the serpent fire. The serpent fire, like, some kind of a snake that's on fire. Kundalini is a very poorly understood phenomenon in even spiritual pursuits and the worlds of yoga and so on of the West. Kundalini is very poorly understood. There are entire movements that spend nothing but dedicated attention on the subject of Kundalini. In Vedic meditation, we look at it as something that's very simple to describe and very simple to understand. There will be a few Sanskrit words that I'll use in my answer, and I'll define them as we go. So, arrayed along the spine and in the middle of the spine, there's a chimney. And that chimney is referred to by the Sanskrit word Sushumna. Sushumna is, in fact, the word that is the etymology, the source of the English word chimney, Sushumna. And the Sushumna is said to be a tube, a hole, that is in diameter remarkably small, about 1/100th the diameter of a human hair, Sushumna. And it goes up through the vertebra, a lining through the vertebra, all the way up to the top of the head. And when we are living life and without meditation, we're accumulating stress on a daily basis, what happens is our capacity adequately to digest food is badly compromised. And so what happens is our body begins to build up an undigested product. This product is known in Ayurveda, which is the Vedic self-health care system. And Ayurveda refers to that product of undigested food as ama, A-M-A, ama. And ama is a white, viscose, sticky substance. You can find it on your tongue every morning. If you take a spoon upside down and drag it along the tongue first thing in the morning, you're going to see some white, sticky stuff. That's ama. Ama builds up in the body and finds its way into the interstices of the body, the gaps in the joints. It causes inflammation, but it also builds up inside the Sushumna. And so that Sushumna gets clogged up with ama. And what happens then is that the natural flow of consciousness energy, which could come through the body and enliven and awaken all of our talents, gets stuck somewhere because the energy, the consciousness energy, which is everywhere, but which coming through the human body finds itself channeling through the body and trying to make its way up to Sushumna, it becomes blocked. And when that energy becomes blocked, it goes sideways, and it creates all kinds of behaviors that are relevant to the place where the blockage is. Now, when we practice Vedic meditation, it is known in Sanskrit as ama pachana. Ama pachana means that which burns ama. What does this mean actually? It means that our body reduces its level of accumulated stress. When we reduce accumulated stress, we're less fatigued. Our body begins properly to have a more seasoned and more adequate and more appropriate appetite. We don't overeat as much, we don't undereat as much, and we're able spontaneously to digest the food that we have eaten. In Ayurveda we say that food which is eaten when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're anxious, when you're sleepy, or food which itself is non-food, undigestible, then any of these things will cause ama. When we look at that, we're looking at the eating behavior of the whole of the Western world. Eating while tired, eating while anxious, eating while stressed, eating food that itself is not adequate nourishment. So, even when you eat food that is supposedly like nectar, in Ayurveda there's a saying that if you are stressed, even if you eat nectar, your body will turn it into ama. It will turn it into poison. If you are not stressed, if you have enlightenment, then when you eat food, even if you eat poison, your body can turn it into nectar. And so it's all about not so much what you eat, but what you can do with what you eat. As we continue practicing Vedic meditation and stress levels decrease and decrease, then the natural burning of ama, the digestion of ama, it's actually digested in the body, includes the ama which is stuck in that chimney. And what this does is it allows the consciousness energy, which is everywhere, to channel itself through the human body, and the Kundalini, quotes unquote, rises. Sometimes when Kundalini rises, it is accompanied by sensations. There may be sensations along the spine, some feeling of heat, or some feeling of cold, or some feeling of both of these things, or some feeling of movement in the back, and so on and so forth. Other times, Kundalini can move frictionlessly, and it is not felt or accompanied by any sensations whatsoever, and yet the ever-growing heightened consciousness state of the person indicates that their Kundalini has risen, unblocked. And so when we practice Vedic meditation, if we have some sensation in the back or in the spine or something like that while we're meditating, don't worry, these things are temporary and they pass. And as that natural consciousness energy force makes its way up through all of the various centers of higher consciousness, we're going to become more and more conscious people. And then we don't credit Kundalini with doing anything in particular. It's just constantly wanting to flow. There's always some little flow of it. In the Vedas, it says that if you had at least a trickle of Kundalini rising into the head, that you would probably die. And so there must be some Kundalini going on all the time. It's just that the flow increases naturally as the amount of blockage in the chimney, in the spine, decreases. This is one way of looking at the sequential growth of consciousness through regular practice of Vedic meditation. We don't give it that much importance because it's in fact a relatively minor sideline to the overall growth of consciousness that is occurring through our practice.